Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everyone to this May board meeting. We are so close to the end of this school year. It seems like just, a few weeks ago we were starting this journey together. Um, but yeah, we are at May, and so we're just gonna get some final wrap up things for the year and really try to prepare for next year's incoming board and tie up all the loose ends for this year. Um, so I think first there were no public comments, so we do not have to read those. And then I'm going to open up the floor for gratitude and appreciation. If you want to share anything, now's the time.
Hey, Bree, I want to appreciate PTA for everything that they're doing for Teacher Appreciation Week. I know a lot of planning has gone into effect, and I think that despite the situation that we're in, so many things are able to happen, and so I'm glad that that our teachers are being appreciated and celebrated in that manner. So thank you all. For just going, the biscuits were amazing. Let me just say that. So really enjoyed those and looking forward to the rest of the week. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. I know Rachel's been doing all the stuff with that. That's really her baby. So thanks, Rachel, for putting all of that together and making a great Teacher Appreciation Week happen. Anyone else? Okay, next on the agenda then is to approve our April board meetings. You all should have been able to review them. Are there any changes that need to be made? All right, if there are no changes, then we'll just approve them by consent. Awesome. And then first up is going to be Teddy. He's gonna do the financial report because I know you have to leave soon.
Yeah, thank you, Priya. Yeah, sorry I have to jump out to a Lakewood conference, so I appreciate you letting me go. I'm going to go ahead as usual and share my screen with everybody so you can see the two spreadsheets I always share. So the very first one I share is the balance sheet, which balance sheet, which is sorry, let me scroll up, which is assets on hand versus how we have allocated it. We currently have about $62,000. Primarily in our Bank of America account, but also some in PayPal, which I transfer over to our Bank of America account every month. And you can see how all this money is allocated. We have close to $30,000 in our general fund. This is primarily where we do most of our business in the general fund. We occasionally do some stuff with the Leo Fund and the media in our holding balance. And we have a little over $27,000 in our reserve fund balance. So that's showing assets on hand versus how we allocate it. And then the next thing I want to talk about is the money coming in and out this month. So let me stop sharing this spreadsheet and I will show you the income statement. Oops. So in terms of things coming in this month, it wasn't too busy. We did have two big sponsors for the Teacher Appreciation Week. So we did get $1,000 coming in from Triangle Building Design and from Camp Bow Wow. Or is it Bow Wow Wow? Maybe that's a band from the 80s. I can't remember. Anyway, they each contributed $500, and we just got money from Member Hub from our, I believe, the T-shirt sale, which was a little over $500. So that was income coming in this month. Expenses going out, not too much this month. The big ones, teachers are now starting to submit their classroom supply reimbursements. So we had $800 going out to teachers, which is always good. We had close to $2,900 going out to pay for headphones. And PTA sponsored or paid for Learning Without Tears, which was close to $2,100. So I'm going to scroll. I did this last month, but I'm going to scroll. If you look at money coming in versus money coming out, at this point, we're at a loss of 5,700. However, some of these expenses are really tied to other income streams, both the Leo Fund and the Media Center balance. So if you take those expenses out, so far this year, we are $2,500 short overall. But that really is not bad at all, because we did build this year's budget by rolling over $31,000 from last year's budget into this budget. So, at this point, we should be closer to $31,000, based on what we planned on expending. At this point, we're only $2,500 short. So, we have still plenty of money. We haven't come anywhere near hitting what we expected our expenses to be. So that is all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has them. Otherwise, I will stop sharing my screen, and you can always ask me questions later if you have any questions about the budget or money coming in, money coming out, or any expenses like that. Thanks.
Thank you, Teddy.
Sure.
There's no questions about the budget. Then next up is fundraising report out. I don't know if Megan or Kristen, which one of you want to take that?
I can start. We are in the middle of doing our t-shirt fundraiser / giveaway. And I'm sitting here with like 600 t-shirts in my dining room. And I think it's going really well. We're communicating directly with teachers so that we get sizes for all the kids. And we're planning to distribute all the t-shirts, those have been purchased and those that have been donated, on one day. So all the kids, whether they're virtual or in person, will go. I'll get them on May 21st. So I haven't, Megan maybe can give a better update of how the sales are going, but I assume we're going to be fine since we have some money left in the budget for t-shirts and for a spring fundraiser. So by the sale, so it's not a net loss, but that's to be seen.
Yeah, Kristen, I think earlier today I looked, we had sold about like 68 t-shirts, which was great. And a lot of those t-shirts, people are donating more. There's an option to be able to donate more. And then we've had some larger just like open donations, it looks like, kind of came through. So it is generating some funds. So that's nice. But I think people like them. I think they're cute. Krista picked them up today, she said, and they look really good. She said, I can't wait to see them. Yay, there they are. They're pretty cute. And I think the empty chair is telling, and the dog, honestly. I know multiple times my cat would walk past my son's computer screen. So yeah, I think the t-shirt sales are going well, just to piggyback off what Kristen was saying. As far as fundraising goes, so Sean and I have had a chance to talk. Sean is who's going to be filling in for PTA fundraising co-chair for next year. And so she's been helping Kristen and I all this year, though, regardless. But so we've kind of just started discussions on, getting ready for next year. We've had a lot of good conversations throughout the year, looking back on fundraising and projects that we should support, or just tons of parents kind of always getting in touch with us and wanting to know more. And so, in the future, we were hoping to send out, I've said it a couple of times in board meetings, to send out a needs assessment to teachers and to parents, just to see you know, what their thoughts are on where we spend our money and what projects we put our money towards, just to try to have the most equitable fundraising plan that we can have. And so I think Karthik is on here, not to steal his thunder a little bit later, but I know like a project has popped up for fundraising. And so, you know, just being able to, you know, embrace various projects that come along and, you know, just being able to understand what the parents' thoughts are. It would be helpful to put this needs assessment in place for next year. We've already come up with 5 or 6 questions that we would love to be able to send to the teachers, just to get their thoughts on some of the ways that we spend our money, before sending it out to parents. You know, and one of them would include the project that Karthik is going to talk to us more about, the green solar project, because it's raising like $12,000, you know. So and Kristen and I and Sean don't feel comfortable like being the ones to say sure or no, you know, like so we're really wanting parents to be able to weigh, and teachers to be able to weigh in, like, what do we spend our time and energy and money on next year? So as soon as we get that needs assessment finished up, I'd love to send it out to you guys to get your thoughts, and then possibly send it to the teachers to get their thoughts first on how we spend our money. I don't know, any general comments about that? Or
I have, so I understand the need to like want to like the community involved in that, but I also felt there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our budget that wouldn't get funded if we just left it all up to like parents necessarily, like if we just as well to like a vote, because some things don't seem very glamorous of things that we do provide as a PTA. Yeah, like we know that we have to spend like $800 every year on just or on like PTA expense, but our business expense, like we pay for software, we pay for all this stuff. And I just want to make sure that when we're like looking at like the input from parents, we're not only basing our budget on that, and also kind of not going like we've agreed that like we need to have a grounds committee budget and like not be like, oh, that didn't get voted on, so we don't support it. Like there are certain things that need to still continue have a line item. Like all the stuff. So I kind of worry about like, we know like there are certain things in our budget that kind of need to be there. If we need to have a carryover for next year, we need to make sure that we have operating expenses in July and August, because of how the year works. We have to like allocate those a certain way. And that's my biggest takeaway, is like how we currently do our model. A lot of stuff doesn't seem like in like what people would want to fund, but it's things that have to fund if we want to run a functioning legal PTA.
Yeah, and you know, it's great that you bring that up, because we were looking at the budget when we were trying to pick out things that people could like maybe like say, oh yeah, like I would love to spend money on this. And we took out, I mean, it's only like 10 things. It's, you know, all the line items that are like teacher continuing education, like all that stuff is like we didn't even bring up. Like just for a couple examples, like one's like composting, one's like obviously the green solar project, like Libertad, what was it?
Yeah, Saute, Libertad, the is it called Safe Touch? The Safe Touch program. I think they're just like they're just like a variety. They're all good things, but it's just like yeah. I agree with what you're saying, Bria. And I think when Megan wrote the first draft of this assessment, she kept that in mind. She was only sort of pulling out the things that feel like these are good things, or are they still the priorities is all, you know, like
yeah, like that makes more sense. I was making sure that we weren't like trying to like pull money from lines that we know that we like need every year to have.
Yeah.
And, But yeah, I do know there are a lot of, like, even in this year's budget, we didn't include a lot of things because we knew they weren't happening. And so we got to figure out if we're going to put them back in the budget or how we're going to put them back in the budget, knowing that we probably won't need a 11,000/17,000 pandemic relief fund next year. Like that probably will be needed, hopefully. So all of that money will need to be reallocated somewhere. But yes, I understand. That's then that if that's the case, then I'm totally on board. I was just making sure that we did keep in mind that there are certain things in our budget that need to stay in our budget regardless.
Yeah, totally. And like, I would definitely want to run it by you guys first, so there wasn't anything glaring, but then it gives like a couple of open spaces for like parents to just put in there, like, are we missing something that you would like to raise money on or something like,
which is also the purpose of we do have an SPNI line. So like if there ever is something that comes up that parents, teachers, anyone in like the Watts community can request something if they see a need during the middle of the year. We normally have SPNI, and I think before this year, I think we had like $6,000 in it or something like that. It was a healthy fund that let parents throughout the year and teachers throughout the year submit requests of things that if they see a need. So I do want, there also is that. So even if in the middle of, even if you don't get necessarily all the answers, that line does have a good purpose. It serves a great purpose throughout the year. If someone decides, hey, this is a great opportunity that came up and we need funding, let's do it, without having to wait for a whole year's board to figure it out.
Bria, I think it's also important to acknowledge the work that you do together with Sarah Martin and the school improvement team to align your budget. And we've worked for a long time to get to this point of aligning all of those goals with PTA's goals. And I think you and Sarah have done a remarkable job of staying in touch, identifying needs. And so I think any survey should be endorsed by the school improvement team, or at least floated with them, so that we can make sure that funding is in place for those initiatives. Again, it's going to be a new year. The school improvement plan for next year may look very different, right? Just like your budget may look very different. So I think just that to keep in mind, I think it's important, because that work, the work that has gone into building that relationship should be honored and continue, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great point, Patty. We'll certainly bring them in. So I'm glad you brought that up. And, just like using this year as a reflection, like Grounds has reached out a couple of times, and so we just want to include everybody that we can. But it's kind of put the fundraising team sometimes in like a gatekeeper kind of like position sometimes, because they reach out like, can we do this project? And who are we to say yay or nay? And so with keeping all our parents and our teachers and students, at the best interests of our hearts, like we want to just be able to give everybody an opportunity. Like, is this what you want to spend your money on?
Right. Oh yeah, I agree with that, Megan, wholeheartedly. I just don't want to over survey our families. And I know that SIT does that. So that's Bria and Sarah. I mean, you guys have been surveyed to death this year, either from us or from Durham Public Schools. So I just want to be mindful that if PTA is putting this out, if parents are taking the time to complete survey questions, perhaps there's 2 or 3 questions more that school improvement team could add, and it could all be done in one survey instead of multiple. That's what I'm saying, Megan. Thank you.
That's a great idea.
Meg had a comment, I think.
Yeah, I can email out some examples of this, but it's bringing to mind for me a process that Durham is using right now. The city of Durham and a lot of localities use called participatory budgeting, where you set aside, it's actually in Durham, it's a very small percentage of the total general fund for the city of Durham, but you set aside money, and then there's a very open process for group decision making about how that money gets spent. And it's also done in a way to help people better understand the whole Durham, like the whole city budget, like how the funds are raised and where the funds go. So it's also an educational opportunity. So it occurs to me like we could also think about doing something like that where you don't even survey the parents right now, that when we do the budget for next year, we just set aside, we just set aside a small, like a pot of money, and maybe it's all of these things you're talking about, whatever those are, added up together. And then it could be something we do at the first PTA meeting to kind of work through a process to make some group decisions about how to spend that part of it. So I think that sort of addresses Bria's concerns, because the vast majority of the money, I think, is something that is, already spoken for. Makes sense not to open up to the entire Watts community. And again, I'm happy to share resources on it, but I could see a model like that working, and I would bet there are other PTAs who do something similar to that.
I think that sounds awesome, and it should be something we look into. This is going to move the conversation to the next bullet point, I think, which is agenda item, which is that there's this green power grant that some parents won, that they need to answer about what's going to happen with that, like next week, I think, or maybe even this week.
Pretty soon.
So that's going to drive our PTA budget significantly, unless, and maybe Megan, you can speak about this as well, but we just have had some email conversations with Karthik and Thibault, who were heading up that grant application process. And I think we're just trying to decide whether or not we want to go for it. And the way we felt like we could decide was whether or not the PTA would be on the hook for this $12,000 contribution that we need, or if that was something that was going to come from a separate but coordinated effort. So anyway, that's like the next point of, not to move you along, Bria, but that was sort of started this whole conversation amongst the fundraising committee. So
I think I've had a couple conversations with Karthik. I have some concerns about the PTA being on the hook for the $12,000, just because I'm looking at our budget this year, and we clearly didn't raise as much as we would have in years past because of the pandemic. We're gonna probably go and carry, like at this point, we're probably gonna carry over like around $20,000, some like a little upward of that, as opposed to last year we were in the 30,000. So we're kind of almost at like a net loss of at least probably by the end of the year around $10,000 of what from last year. So I just worry about this next year being the year that we take on this ginormous expense as a PTA. I think the PTA can support asking parents to fund it, but I also don't want I also realize that it's not one of those things where if we don't get the funding, there's no penalty on us. I say we let parents try to get the funding, but I don't want to also guarantee that it's going to happen with PTA funds making up the difference. Because let's say they only raise $4,000 from parents, I don't want to necessarily commit the PTA to giving $8,000 if we don't have it in our budget to do that. And I think it would be really hard, looking over our budget and what we currently spend, I feel like it would be really hard to find $8,000, knowing that next year probably going to have to start funding some of the things we didn't fund this year. There was a lot of stuff we were able to pull from because we weren't going to fund it this year. We knew that we weren't going to do a fifth grade camping trip, so that wasn't going to happen, and all these things that may happen next year, I don't know what next year holds still, but I just worry about not funding things that we in the past funded to fund this, and I guess that's kind of where your thing comes in. But even some educational things that we didn't necessarily spend this year, we didn't have to do Saute this year, which is the EC summer program, because we paid for it last year and it didn't happen. So we're just keeping that money from last year. Things like that would then have to go back into our budget if we're going to continue to support them. I worry about what happens if the parents really don't raise the $12,000. I don't want the PTA to be like, oh, the PTA said they would cover this if we can't cover it. And if we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I recognize we'll probably still fundraise for around $25,000-$30,000 next year because that's pretty consistent with the annual fund. But that's also how we then fund the next year. So it's a catch-22.
With a lot of work behind it, and you know, and that's why the needs assessment came up. It's like, you know, do the teachers want to see the green power? You know, like, and so Krista and I, we're not the ones to decide. And I mean, with Amanda and Bridget on the line, I know that they've said that they have teachers that are interested, but do we know the overall feeling from the teachers?
I do not. This is Amanda. We have not had, not that it's not important, but I will say that it has not been an agenda item in our PLCs lately. That's just not where our priorities are right now.
I would agree. I've had conversations with like individual teachers, but I would say as a collective, I don't have a gauge at this moment on general feeling around that project.
Like I say, I'm totally fine with us moving forward. I just don't necessarily think that we as a PTA can 100% commit that if this doesn't get funded, we will fund it. Like, I don't think we have, even all of us together have the right to be like, yes, we'll totally commit all of these funds to this project. I think there's nothing wrong. There's no harm in continuing to move forward and seeing if we raise the money. And then if we don't get, if it comes to August and we see that like where we are raising wise, we can evaluate then what, like where, like how close we are to the goal. Like if we're only like $1,000 off the goal, and the goal you have to be met by October 30th, if it's September and we realize that we're only like $1,000 off the goal, that's a lot different than if we only raise $1,000 and we're $11,000 off the goal. I think we can, because again, they just say if you don't raise the money, they just won't build it. It's not like they charge you for like wasting their time or something. So I say we can move forward and see what we do. And it's also, that's parents going directly to their website to donate money. It's not a pass through to the PTA. The PTA doesn't collect any money for this. Like we just share the link and they raise all the money and they keep track of all the money, and it's not an extra thing for us to do. And if it comes down to it, and it's only like a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 thing, then it's something that the PTA can look into being like, yeah, we can totally do this, or even whatever number it is. We can be like, we can look into like funding this, but I don't want to right now say, yeah, the PTA will just pay $12,000. I would prefer to give parents a chance to donate directly, because I think that's how Green Power is set up. Like community members can do it if Trinity Park Association wants this in their neighborhood because they think it's going to be a cool thing to have. That sounds better than the PTA immediately being like, we got this, we'll just pay for it. If that makes sense.
So I feel like you're saying, which I agree with, Briette, like that we can go ahead as the board and say to the leaders of this Green Power grant proposal and say, go for it, we're supporting you, but we cannot commit to making up the difference unless it's like, and give them an amount, or leave that open.
I think it's up for I think it's just up for evaluation with the next board, because like realistically, most of us on this call won't be on the next board. So it also feels like it's a really weird thing to be making decisions for people that like aren't here and be like,
yeah, we're all like, go for it, good luck.
I will still be here.
I mean, yes, but like a lot of people are stepping off this year.
Right.
And
Can I also just ask this group, because I have not been part of this board or the school when they've done like a larger sort of like capital camp, like a big effort like this. I know that there's something sort of similar when the playground was renovated, and maybe, I don't know, maybe Sarah, you can speak. I mean, do you feel like there's capacity in our school community to do something like this? Or was that really just a unique, I know that there were like a lot of partnerships and grants and things that went into that. It wasn't just like parents donating, but.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Kristen, yeah, so during the playground renovation project, Annie and I
basically, in addition to all the grant funding that we got, we also raised money from neighbors and alumni through, there's an organization called Friends of Watts, and we were able to get many of their addresses, and we sent letters, direct appeals, and we raised on the order of $10,000 for that project. So I think, I think $12,000 is within the realm of possibility, given that we were able to fundraise about $10,000. But the other thing I would say, and obviously this could be a conversation that Karthik and I take offline, but the grounds committee has also talked about meeting, and we've talked about this, hold on one second. Hey guys, we've talked about needing to also fundraise for maintenance for the playground. So possible, I can imagine one situation possibly, Karthik, where we go in together and maybe we try to raise $20,000 that we share between the, a maintenance fund for the playground and the solar project. Because I worry a little bit about if we potentially have these two kind of big fundraising pushes that we want to do, not directly through the PTA, but involving sort of the neighborhood association, alumni. It would be really good to be strategic about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Sarah. Yeah, we can definitely talk and figure it out.
This is Meg. I have a kind of a random comment here, which is for my day job. Part of what I'm doing right now is tracking and helping to make sense of how states and localities are using money from the American Rescue Plan, which is the COVID legislation passed in March. It's a pretty significant investment, $325 billion for states and localities, and more than $100 billion for schools. And North Carolina hasn't really, is kind of behind in sort of thinking of how they're going to distribute that money. But I've seen a couple of states where some of the thinking with some of the school funds and then just the broader money, it's investing in retrofitting of schools, including adding solar power, solar panels. So I say that for the context of, we probably also just want to pay attention, and I'm happy to do that the next month or two. And that there's absolutely no way of knowing, and possibly not as forward thinking, that would be something included here. But there's a lot of opportunity with that American Rescue Plan money for one-time kind of big investments. And of course, particularly with education, and maybe Patty has some thoughts about this too, or maybe it's been talked about with the DPS system, of just how important that money is also going to be to really help us catch up and even catch up to where we were pre-COVID. So again, just making a note, it could be that there are other ways to meet this goal beyond doing parent fundraising.
Karthik, when is the deadline for raising this money?
So it's the end of September 30th. So Patty signed the document, so now that we have to just submit it to them, and they'll open up the website, which allows people to contribute money, the fundraising campaign, and then that's open all the way till September.
And then, do they ever offer extensions, or is it?
They do. They do.
Firm?
No, they're very flexible with everything. So they want you to succeed, and so they'll automatically give a 1-month extension, I think.
Okay, but they wouldn't give, say, a 6-month, or they wouldn't allow you to fundraise over 2 years, for example.
No, they don't do that. Yeah, I mean, at least, yeah. They promoted aggressively, and I think last year they had 10 schools that they gave it out to, and they promoted as well. And so there's like just donors from out of town donating to this project as well. And to that point, I think it's a parent-led initiative, and I think it is a lot of money, and I don't want to strain the PTA, and the way that I plan to, again, working with all of you is trying to initially find those big donors who can make that, right, who can support this going, who are excited about it, right, and who will give the $1,000 for a project like this, and telling them that don't take away money from the PTA when you're giving this. This is just a one-time thing. You still need to support the PTA because we do an amazing job, right? I mean, so that story is going to be told every time I go and talk to potential person who gives to the school and the PTA. Yeah, that's all I have.
So, okay. So are we at the point where like it's already gone to the.
So Bria, right now, I have signed the document, but the document is only to open fundraising.
Okay.
There's multiple steps. Right now, it hasn't been made public, and it cannot be made public until May 10th. If this is something we want to place on hold, we could place it on hold for a year. Karthik could rip up, the agreement, or we can try. And if we don't raise the money, we meaning I'm not sure who the we are right now because I hear PTAs. Certainly a very good point. NC Green Power does not want to compete. And I'm hearing Karthik say he does not want to compete with the efforts of PTA. So right now that's the point that I signed the document on. And if money is not raised, then it will be null. It won't happen this year, right? It's a tricky year for fundraising for sure. And to add to Sarah's point, we already have a commitment to continue what we have at the playground, right? And a financial commitment to the sustainability, or we're going to lose the playground and everything that it has on it. And so that's pretty dramatic and bold, but do we want to add another thing for the next 10 or 12 years of sustainability? And who's going to own that and sustain that, because the school doesn't have that. Meg, I've heard a little bit about the American Rescue Plan. I don't know what the state or DPS is planning. Their focus to me right now and what I'm hearing is academic and catching folks up, whether that's more staffing to support small group and individual instruction, or to continue supporting digital divide. So more to come on that.
Anyone else's thoughts? I'm fine letting fundraising open and seeing where this goes, without an explicit agreement that PTA will fund whatever doesn't happen. I'm fine doing that and saying just see where it goes. But I do want to make sure Sarah's fine with that, because it does seem like it could be a competing interest with grounds. If you're trying to raise money from the same people.
Yeah, it's a good point. But I think this grant is a really unique opportunity. Annie and I haven't really come up with a plan yet for fundraising for grounds. And so, I mean, I say, I give my blessing and green light to this initiative and see sort of what happens. Karthik, let's do talk and let's see if there might be ways to maybe combine forces. But I certainly don't want to provide any roadblocks to this.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I'm pulling Carolyn Colopy in now that she's president of the Trinity Park Association. I had a lengthy conversation with her. I think that a combined effort may make the most sense. So good plan.
Awesome. So Karthik, you can go ahead and I guess and send that in. They can make that public and people can start fundraising.
Yeah. Thank you, Bria. Thank you all.
Okay. Next up is we have a PTA meeting next week. our final PTA meeting of the year. And there's supposed to be elections. Don't know who we're electing at this point, but there's supposed to be elections. We do need to elect a president and treasurer and also a vice president, which isn't as important, but we do have to have a vice president to be a PTA. And those all have to be in place by June 30th or July 1st, sorry. They have to be in place by July 1st. And they have to be voted on by the membership, which means it's really the last time unless we call a special election meeting. I am in talks with someone who might be president, but she's waiting to see if she got a promotion at her job, if she can commit to this. So that's where we're at. I actually don't know what happens if we don't have a president in place by July 1st. I think it might end up just being me in the interim. I think it just defaults to me, which I'd prefer it not to, but I think that's how it works. And so if anyone on this call would like to step up and be president next year, that would also work. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Teddy, are you still here? I don't know if you found anyone who would be a good treasurer.
I have not.
Okay. Yeah.
Patty, have we ever been in this situation before? We have. Okay.
When I first came on board, lots, and that was a long time ago, really it was all teachers that made up the executive board and one parent. So teachers filled every position. And we grew from there. So, I mean, this could be in that situation again, right? That people are just really feeling strapped for energy and commitment, with everything going on. So I think that just paring it back to the basic, focus on the executive board. Who do we need? Just like Bria outlined is the way to go and what to focus on. Certainly, teachers are feeling it too. So, but we have had teachers in the past be president. Although I feel like last year there was a conflict with that came up. I'm not quite sure. Bria probably knows better. I think I was focused on other things. And certainly my office can do some more messaging around that. I think that I have probably not. Bria, let's get together and work on messaging. And maybe let's cast the net and see if we can catch a fish in that net, and see if we can get anyone interested. Okay, Bria?
Yeah, that's totally funny. I know the woman who I'm talking to would be great for the role. She just literally doesn't know if she's
Right.
yet. And she won't know until June, which is the problem. Like if we are going to do this. So
Have you considered pitching, since you technically have to have a president and vice president, have you considered pitching sharing responsibilities between those two roles where, right, you could and I don't know, Patty, how you would feel about that, but like taking turns for the monthly meeting or taking turns putting the agenda together?
So here's the thing. I told this to Patty and Sarah, but if no one wants to be vice president, I'm okay being vice president. Again, I can only do it 1 year because I was vice president last year. I'm okay stepping back into the vice president role. I just can't commit to being president because it's a lot going on my plate. And so with that, I would be comfortable training someone and also stepping in if need be. I just don't fully want to take on that responsibility right now, as my life kind of like just shifts. So I think I did tell anyone I talked to, I'm like, I can support you in that way. So we don't really need a vice president because I said I would do it. But we definitely need a president. And I think that, I think that's an appealing thing, that you have a vice president who was literally just the most recent president, although that could also be like, I don't want that, in which case I don't have to do that. And so, yeah, I think it's really just looking for someone who can just step up into that role. I know it probably won't be as much next year as it was this year. It probably won't be as crazy, like, and hectic with all the drives and trying to get everything back ready to go back to school because we will have plans in place. But yes, so that, and we also need a treasurer. We do need someone to take care of our financials. That's a big one. And that's also one that you kind of have to be somewhat skilled in knowing accounting. So those are the options. It would be great if anyone on the board just wanted to because you can definitely be in those roles and still be a committee chair if that's something that you would be interested in. If you're good at finance and you're okay balancing a budget, you can step in to be treasurer and also be head of your committee still. But yeah, just trying to find a president. It's harder for me because I don't know any I don't know any parents at the school. And so besides the ones I'm currently looking at, because my kid was in Watts for 7 months before COVID happened. And so I didn't meet that many parents. I don't live in the neighborhood. So if you all know people who you think, please just talk to them and be like, hey, email Bria if this is something you're interested in. We're gonna try to find someone hopefully by the end of this week so we can have elections. If not, we're going to have to pull an emergency meeting at a later date. I'm going to email NCPTA to see if it needs to be a full-on Zoom meeting or if we can actually even do it through just doodle polling through the listserv. But I know that they have to be paid members of the PTA to vote. But I think we can keep track of that way. If that's a thing, I need to actually check all the laws and all the things that they decided this year surrounding voting. But that's where we're at right now with that. So really treasure. I know we do. We also, we have committee chairs leaving, like family involvement's leaving, African-American children's leaving, EC's leaving. We don't have a Hispanic families chair. We need a sit liaison, but that needs to be someone who's also on sit and the PTA. I think that also needs to be voted on. So I'm going to talk to Sarah this week and make sure and see if she has anyone, because that's also a voted role. And I feel like I'm missing someone who's also leaving, and so I apologize if I am. But yeah, so we have a couple committee, but they can be filled after because those just get voted on by the executive board, and by the officers. And so it literally only is president, vice president, treasurer, the principal, and the teacher liaison. Those 5 vote on the rest of the board. And so we don't have to have that in place until really the beginning of school. Those can be added as needed and at later dates. Whereas the officers have to be voted on by the general membership. So if we can focus all of our attention on finding people, and even if you all if you have kids in person and you all walk and you talk to parents, now might be a good time. You go to the playground, might be a good time to mention, hey, you seem like you want to be involved. Try this.
Do you have a committee is anybody helping do this? Is there a group of people doing it?
We didn't really get a nominating committee this year. I know last year we had a 3-person nominating committee. That's how I got here. But we didn't really have one this year. No one really had the bandwidth to do another thing. Just the common theme of this year. Yeah. It's, but
I mean, what am I trying to say? After you and Patty kind of talk and get a plan, I'd be happy to help with trying to put together envision some sort of 8th grade hold up a poster on the email. We need a president, something, trying to recruit some people. So please, if Bria, after you and Patty talk and get a plan, if you don't have bandwidth to help, please reach out because I'm happy to try to. I'm not a walker and I don't live in Trinity Park either, but I do know some families and but I'd be happy to just put together some language to try to boost somebody stepping up, like Patty said, casting the net. So I'm here to help you guys if you need some help.
Yeah, I can help. I mean, if I think you should convince Rachel McCarthy to help you because she's the one who like strong-armed me onto this board. So she's convincing. Getting back at you, Rachel. But no, I feel like it would be good to maybe do a big call on the listserv and just maybe go through the jobs. And like, I think people are fearful of like stepping into something because they don't know what it is. So like maybe just saying like, this is what it entails. I mean, I don't know if you have the bandwidth to do that, Bria, or if you need help, I could draft something up. I don't know all the jobs, but like, you know, like just like what's required of it and like the perks of being on the board, which I think there are some. So just starting there, but also like, yeah, if you need help, I can help maybe brainstorm some names. I don't know how good I'd be at convincing them, but Rachel would be.
I know on our website we do like on our website there is like every committee is listed in what they do, and I sent out an email I think in February or March that was like, hey, these are the positions that are going to be open, which is how I got the woman who was a PTA president at her old school, and she was like, I would totally come on and help, but I just don't know about this job. That's how she was the only one who responded to that email to the general listserv. And there were like 9 positions on there. So I do think it's worth another try to do that. Maybe even like Patty, if you send out a Connect Ed or an email, be like, hey, if you're interested in like joining our PTA board, email me or contact so-and-so. Yeah, just trying to get it out to even people who may not be on the listserv, which I feel like is most people at this point, but I know there are probably some families that still aren't there.
And I know I don't know if our new families have had opportunity yet. So I need to check with Ms. Blaylock and see where we are in that communication piece. And I know that we could potentially mention it. And I know new families, if they're completely new to Watts, they may not know much about us. But Bria, you were a brave soul who stepped in after 1 year, 7 months or whatever, a year. And so we can do that campaigning too for just the executive board and not the other seats too, I think would narrow like our focus. And so we can certainly do messaging around that for president, treasurer, and vice president. Those seem to be the big, what, you know, the ask for 3 is easier than the ask for 9, right? Again, if we could focus on that, then others can join later. It's just that having those in place by July 1 is helpful, right, Bria?
Also, yeah. Also, the only way we keep up our good standing status with North Carolina PTA and the federal PTA thinks that they have to know by July 1st who's taking over, and we have to sign things. So, yeah, I'm gonna check in with Emily Daly and see if she, because Amanda said she might have a document that would work, and see if she has that, but also see if she has any like leads on people about things, or if she knows exactly what happens if we don't have this in place. That would be good to actually know. Yeah, I think not so. As of right now, that's what we need to have happen at next week's meeting. I don't really have anything else on the agenda for next week's meeting. So, but yeah.
Bria, I think I would like if we have more details about summer programming, I don't have them yet, but if that comes in, I'll be in touch with you just to ask for a few minutes. That I would appreciate the platform just to get that information to families. Have you all received an email from Durham Public Schools this evening about summer programming? No. Okay, so we're waiting on those, but that would be my ask, and just that, you know, typically I have just a few minutes. So that's where my brain is right now, trying to think about summer programming and just getting the word out about it. So,
I mean, I was planning on giving you your principal's update.
Okay.
as you know, I think that maybe Kristen and Megan can talk about the t-shirt fundraiser, and I think at that point people will still be able to buy them, because you said until May 12th, right? So maybe do a push for families to buy them that can, to support. And then hopefully I'm going to talk to Sarah and see what she has, and then we'll have, because we also have to have sit elections, I think, at the same time, to see if her people, so we'll do any elections that need to be done. And I think that's it. I don't want to overload people. I know it's like the last meeting and we haven't really had like super programming like we would in a normal year, but this isn't a normal year, so we're just going to go with it. And
Bria, would it be appropriate to allow Karthik to do like an initial intro of the Green Power Project and get people?
Can he do that? If it's, I think that he has to wait until NC Green Power makes it public. I thought that's because we talked about that, but I think it had to be made public by NC Green Power before it can really be public. And that's kind of very public if you tell a whole school. I just don't know I don't know the rules for NC Green Power.
I think you're right, Bria, that they would like to announce it first and then school fundraising can start. I have May 10th in mind, but I don't know if May 10th was for NC Green Power or for schools to go ahead. So let me look at that, or ask Karthik, he'll know as well. Oh, I thought he was gone. He's still here. There
we have to, the NC Green Power person, Katie Liberato, is whom we need to contact about that. Once we put this document back to her, we can ask her. I can ask her that exact question.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you get word that you can tell the school, then we'll let you talk about Green Power, and if not, we won't do it.
Okay.
Don't want to get in any type of trouble.
Yep.
And then I think, someone.
Bria, sorry, it's me, it's Meg. Is it too late to move the PTA meeting? I just wonder if we don't really have anything other than Patty's update on summer camps, which we're not even sure we'll know all of the information to share by next Monday. And if it means we're going to have to pull people together for an emergency meeting anyway, I just wonder if we should push it a few weeks.
So I'm okay doing that. We're going to start. We have two other options, because the 31st is Memorial Day, and that's the last week of school. But so we could do the 17th or the 24th.
We have sit on the third Monday.
We can't do the 17th.
Unless, Bria, since we're trying to accomplish the same goals and we're voting on, we're doing elections, perhaps you and Sarah and I can talk about doing another joint meeting. Those seem to have been successful. This would be our third or fourth one this school year. So let's think about that as well. And since we have to hold elections for sit anyway, that may make sense.
It could be it could almost be like, I know sit actually has official business they have to do like together, but it could almost be like the retreat where like y'all maybe meet like 5 and do whatever you need to do. And then by 6 o'clock, we're ready to go with everyone.
That'd be good. And then that commitment would just be one night for a stretch of time instead of 2 separate evenings. Let's talk to Sarah. Meg?
So I'm good with postponing, and we'll just I'm good with postponing till the 17th. And I'll send out that email to you and Sarah tonight, and we can get the ball rolling on that. And then that gives us another week to figure out who's going to take over next year. But then other than that, I don't have anything. I think we're doing really good with, I think our next thing was talk about end of the year celebrations. I know I've talked to Kathy Carrender and Miss Gross, who's doing a 5th grade art project that can be put on t-shirts for all our 5th graders, so they could collectively combine their graduation shirt. And I think, so we're gonna have those printed and given to all the 5th grade teachers and their students. And Kristen found some awesome signs that we're going to do for the drive-through celebration. And that's all we've heard from end of the year celebration wise. And let me check the things. And then I just wanted to ask you all, we have to have a final board meeting in June. Now, by the first Monday in June, school is over. So I was saying if you want to do Tuesday, June 1st, which is the day after Memorial Day, or if you were okay coming back, but Monday, June 7th for our final board meeting. And that's the board meeting where generally the new president would kind of take over. The new elected people would kind of be there. And we would just close out any business that we still had open for the year.
I think it might be better to do the 7th, but I can do either one. I don't really.
Yeah.
The 7th works better, I think,
Yeah.
for me too.
I'm okay keeping it on the 7th. I know some people would be like, but school's over, but that's fine. It's a board. It's not a general membership meeting. It's just us. So it's just a quick Zoom to kind of get everyone acclimated to the new board that we're definitely going to have by then.
I'd like to hear from the teachers and their thoughts on that. Amanda or Bridget, if you're still on.
Sorry, I couldn't get my sound turned back on fast enough. I would prefer not to do it on Memorial Day. That's just me personally.
Oh, it would be the Tuesday after Memorial Day, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, I'd be fine with Tuesday.
Yeah, I would also be fine with that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I do know that. Like, I think teachers no longer are get our employees after the last day of school. So I'm like, I don't want to make them do this when they're not in school.
Yeah, that feels a little awkward to me, Bria, especially when some of them may be moving towards planning for summer programming that starts that very week. And some of them may have vacation plans as well. So I'm not sure, but my vote would be for that Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm good with the Tuesday because I'm also going to be on vacation that Monday. Like, we are leaving the day after school. And so I prefer not to be on vacation Zooming with y'all, but I can. And so, yeah, let's for right now, let's say Tuesday, June 1st. And if anything comes up, or if there's a better date that comes for this last board meeting, we can do that. Just because that way teachers aren't on vacation. I'm not on vacation. Everyone, the school year is still going on.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the teachers. That's a really good point.
And then, Rachel, do you want to I have you on here giving updates for teacher appreciation. You don't have to if there isn't anything to update, but you can. I know you didn't ask for this.
No, that's okay. Oh, you can all see my pantry. I think pretty much everything's on schedule. I'm glad, Scrum, I'm glad that the biscuits went over well. I'll make a note of that for next year. And we've got candy and caramel apples planned for tomorrow. And then, first of all, sorry, let me just also say thank you to all the people who have volunteered, and thank you to Ms. Crum and Ms. Marquez for making things, communications with the school and access to, whatever we need access to make this happen. They've been really helpful in making that happen. So thanks. And we've got treat bags on Wednesday and Loco Pops on Thursday, and a reminder to people to wear red to show support for teachers and staff on Thursday. And Friday, lunch generously donated by Luna. Watt's parents, Sean Stokes and Maria Ellis of Luna, are donating lunch. So I think that's most of it, and hopefully some teacher appreciation flowers and drawings were distributed or given to teachers today and staff.
Definitely. And I just wanted to say the notes in the format for all of that, just so sweet, so wonderful. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do.
Great job, Rachel.
You're doing amazing. Thanks so much, Rachel. Then last summer, but we talked about all the things for next year. So does anyone have anything else to add before we close out? Awesome. Then I will send out an email letting you know the final plans are for this last PTA meeting once me, Patty, and Sarah are able to coordinate, and we will go from there. Thanks, y'all.
Go buy t-shirts.
Yeah. Good to see y'all. Bye.
Bye.